Hello folks, this is Sula once again. Welcome to another video for Teamfight Tactics. In this video, we're going to be looking at two separate things. We're going to be looking at the scrap trait all the way up to scrap 6, which is the highest tier of scrap that you can play. And we're also going to be looking at Zeri, who is one of the new champions introduced in set 6.5. Zeri does not have any particular synergy with a scrap board. Her traits are Debonair and Sniper, so she doesn't necessarily fit with this team composition, but it ends up connecting in this match, so we'll get to that and see kind of how these two things piece together in this game later on. Alright, so this is a normal game of TFT. I was looking to take the Ezreal with a sword off of the initial carousel. I got outclicked by one of the other players, so I've had to fall back on this Darius instead. Wasn't as interested in this because it's Darius with a bow, and that means I'm probably going to have to sell the Darius to get this item off him, but no, that was not a bad starting item. Certainly can be used in a number of different physical damage team compositions. One nice thing is I did get a gold drop there, so that means I'm going to have enough gold to buy up all the champions. And I find another Ezreal right here. I also see a Singed on the bench, so right away I'm thinking this could potentially be an Innovator opener because I have both Ezreal and Singed, and I also have Ziggs there for scrap trait. So now if I could find a Zillion, I also have a Camille that could play into Innovators, and I also have, and I guess I could also play a scrap direction, which is what ends up happening in this game. Alright, so it's time for the first augment. Different choices here. One is a Hextech augment. I'm not really interested in going the Hextech route. That's not very strong right now. There's also a Bodyguard Heart, which would give me a Blitzcrank in one tier of the Bodyguard trait. That's not quite what I'm looking for either. So I end up going with Blue Battery, which is what's going to make it so units gain 10 mana back after they cast. So this is a good augment for units that don't have particularly high mana costs. So for instance, Ezreal's mana costs are pretty low. His mana cost, I believe, is 40. So every time he casts, he gets 10 mana back, so it'll be like his mana costs are 30 after the first cast. Not a very useful augment for units that have high mana costs, like Singed. I can't recall what Singed mana cost is, but it's pretty high, so it's not really going to do a whole lot for him. 150, I just highlighted it, so that's not really going to do a whole lot. He'll be at 10 out of 150 after he does his fling, so yeah, not going to be that great. But I thought the other options were not necessarily useful for me. Hextech is not in a good place. Hextech was hilariously overpowered in the release version of the game, and it's been pretty weak since then. Bodyguards got a lot better in this patch, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of the changes in this patch as we go along here. As I go ahead and make a Giant Slayer on Ezreal, I want to make use of these items. Giant Slayer is going to have good value throughout the game. And now Ezreal will roll a scrap item off of his bow. So Bodyguards definitely got stronger in this most recent patch. In this patch, since it came out, it's been out for, I guess, about half a week at this point in time. The main team comps that I've been playing have been either Flex Innovators, which is what I've done in a number of different games. I've recorded a couple different things on YouTube. Had some good success in my ranked games and my ranked placement matches looking to play Flex Innovators. And then Syndicates have also been very strong. It's not exactly a surprise that Syndicates got stronger because the Bodyguard trait was buffed in this most recent patch. Enchanters were buffed in this most recent patch. Both of those are units or traits that the Syndicates want to play into. And some of the Syndicate units were also buffed as well. So Ashe was buffed, Morgana was buffed, Braum was buffed, Ahri was buffed. So combine that with Bodyguard trait being buffed and Enchanters also being buffed, and it's like, yeah, well, of course Syndicates are going to be better now. So those are kind of the two team compositions that I've been looking to play and been having some success with playing. The other comp that's very popular right now is VIP Talon reroll, 3-star Talon. And I think we see someone go for that in this game. I can't remember, but that's also quite powerful. It's a little bit silly that the most powerful Debonair unit is a 2-cost that people are re-rolling, as opposed to a 4 or 5-cost unit. All right, so this match we're up against someone who is playing, it looks like, some combination of Hextech and Arcanist. And yeah, this time my front line just gets bowled over instantly, and I end up losing the fight. So not exactly a huge surprise. I have like a 1-star Singe for my front line, but I realized pretty quickly after this, I was like, yeah, you know, I'm playing Scrap plus Arcanist. I have 2 brands in for Arcanist trait. I'm not sure that that's really what I want to be doing here. So what am I thinking? Well, I was like, I'm at 8 gold. I want to make sure I'm at 10 gold, even if I lose this round, because it's important for economic purposes. And I also need to improve my front line. So why don't we do this? I'll sell the brands. This drops Arcanist trait, but I really don't think that was doing a whole lot. So I'll put in the Blitz. This will make scrap 3 with no other traits. And this way, most importantly, even if I lose the round, I'll still be at 10 gold for economic purposes. So I also hit 2-star Ezreal, which is going to be a big deal here. I'm up against this person who has, they're playing some kind of Yordle's board, I guess, along with a Lucian. So this is a little bit scary because they have Lucian, who is a 3 cost, but I did 2-star the Ezreal. He has gone ahead and rolled a Last Whisper, which is really nice to armor shred on Poppy as a bodyguard unit. And this person also doesn't really have an augment right now. They have Double Trouble, but that doesn't do anything unless you have 2 copies of the same unit, which they did not have in. So they basically did not have an augment, whereas I had the blue battery, and that was giving my units back, mostly Ezreal, but all of my units technically, giving them back a little mana after each cast. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pick off the carousel here. So there's a couple things I could look to do here. One thing is I could try to get more items for scrap value. Like I could try to put an item on Blitzcrank for scrap value or on Ziggs for scrap value. But instead, I decide I'm going to look to go for this glove. Gloves are heavily contested right now. They're popular items. You might have seen there were 2 gloves on the carousel and one was immediately taken by one of the other players. I figured this was a good opportunity to try to get a glove right now. It does mean I won't be getting scrap value off of any of my units. Like, I won't be rolling a free scrap item by making a Last Whisper on Ezreal, but I really wanted to get this Last Whisper because it's become much more of a priority item in this most recent patch. Now remember, I said that bodyguards were buffed in this patch. Like the bodyguard trait itself was buffed to provide more armor, and some of the bodyguard units are more in the meta right now. Like you're seeing a lot more Leonas, you're seeing a lot more Brahms on people's team compositions. So what that means is Last Whisper goes up in priority by a lot. If people are playing Syndicate boards that have Braum and Darius in them, if people are playing Debonair boards for Talon that have Leona in them, more people playing bodyguards mean you really want Last Whisper for physical damage team compositions. Kind of the general rule is if people are playing a lot of Bruisers for their front line, then Giant Slayer is better because Giant Slayer is good against high health targets, which is what Bruisers are. And Bruisers don't innately get armor, they get health. Whereas if you're up against bodyguards, you more want to prioritize Last Whisper. So I think this item has increased priority after the recent buffs to bodyguard. Anyway, this round does not go as well for me. I end up losing that round to the person who has an Innovator's board, but they've actually made quite a few 2-stars. Now here I'm going to get a shop that's just fantastic for me. I 2-star the Singed, and then in addition to that, I find an Echo. And this is fantastic because it puts Innovator trait in play, and it also gives me another rank of scrap. So you see me have Camille in there, but it's only going to take me a couple seconds to realize, wait a minute, I should be playing the Ziggs, because that gets me up to scrap 4. So there we go, 4 scrap, 3 Innovator. And this is something that I've had a lot of success playing in recent matches. I've been using it in some of my ranked placement matches, and I've been having success here in these normal games as well. By the way, once again, positioning for the win. Notice that this other board has a number of 2-stars, 2-star Nocturne, 2-star Cassidon, but I was watching where the other people were positioning. I saw that if I hit this comp, I wanted Ezreal to be on the right-hand side, and that is going to turn this round that probably should have been a loss into a win for me, because Ezreal is going to stay safe. By the time that Nocturne finishes getting through my frontline tanks, Ezreal has killed everything, and so we're going to turn a potential loss into a win. Now, was it even good to win that round? Is kind of a fair question. I've gone win, loss, win, loss, win. So no streaks whatsoever here in the early going, which is not ideal from an econ perspective. But I'm still in reasonably good shape, considering that I am at, like 20 gold, and I'm level 5, and I've got a series of different 2-stars on my bench. I'm also checking some of the other team compositions to see what people are playing. There are 2 people that are on long win streaks, which is concerning based on what we're seeing right now. There's also 1 person on a long loss streak at 68 HP, so they're going to have to turn that around. But I guess they're pretty rich based on losing all those rounds. All right, so anyway, we get another round here. Note that I'm holding extra copies of Singed and Ezreal. That's because I may have to sell and replace these with other Innovators later on. Pretty common that often has to happen. And then here I'm going to try to sell to get to 30 gold, and there we go. So I only got 1 component, but getting gold there was quite nice, so that I was able to get up to 30 gold, which is where you really want to be at the end of stage 2 if possible. Like level 5 30 gold is a good place to be. If you're too much lower than that, you're in some trouble. All right, so the only item I picked up was a chain vest, so I'm going to put this on Blitz. And one of the things I want to do right now is try to put items on for scrap value. Since I'm playing a high level of scrap, I'm playing scrap 4, the more items I can create, the higher the scrap value is going to be. This is kind of like basic stuff, but that's the way scrap works. Right now, I will turn 3 components on scrap items into full items. So Blitz will get 1, and that's it for the time being. But I would really like to get more of them, if at all possible. So like right now, I get the value of having 6 components, 2 completed items, 1 component, plus that turns into a full item. So, you know, by having scrap 4 in, all of those items will turn into bigger shields for my team. And the earlier in the game, the more those shields are relevant. Late in the game, the damage is high enough that scrap trait can kind of get outscaled a lot of the time, which is one of the reasons why scrap tends to be more of a top 4 comp than a win the lobby comp. But, you know, the shields are high value early in the game, and one of the goals with scrap is to win streak early and then be able to go into like higher tier legendary units, and that's kind of the goal of what you want to do. So here we're going to find an early Jhin, and I was like, oh, early Jhin at 2% odds. That's pretty nice. I'll hold on to that. And I'm like, you know what? I want to go to level 6 here. This is a standard timing to go level 6. Let's just go level 6, play the Jhin, and play the Camille. This does drop out of scrap 4, but remember, I'm only rolling 1 scrap item right now anyway on Blitzcrank. So I think it's better to play the Camille, get Clockwork Trait in, and get Jhin in, because Jhin is going to help out with dealing damage. My actual damage is relatively low. I guess it's okay, because I do have a 2-star Ezreal with pretty good items, but it's not as good as it could be. By the way, check this out. This person has not lost a round yet. Cyrus 2862, they're on full win streak, but Blitzcrank is going to roll a scrap Shroud of Stillness that hits the entire team. So that's going to screw over this person so badly in the match. And so we're going to end their win streak. And I was feeling very good about that. I was like, ah ha ha, this person has not lost a round yet, but we get the perfect scrap Shroud of Stillness to screw over their team, and that turns what probably would have been a loss, or at the very least a super close round, into kind of an easy win for my team. Yeah, don't sleep on the Shroud of Stillness. It's a really good item, especially if you can roll it by dumb luck there. Okay, so now we've got an option for additional augments. I'm tempted by Pandora's items. I do like Pandora's items quite a bit. The chance to potentially roll like perfect items for your team. But there's also a scrap part there, and I was like, you know, I'm playing 3 scrap right now. What if we just go right back up to 4 scrap with the scrap part? And this also introduces the opportunity to play scrap 6 in the late game. Now, you can always play scrap 6. There are 6 scrap champions, so you can always play 6 scrap. But that requires playing Ziggs, who you do not want to play in the late game, because Ziggs sucks. I keep saying this, and I'm sorry any Ziggs fans that might be out here, but he is just a bad unit in Teamfight Tactics in set 6 and set 6.5. You really don't want to play him. His ult is not, he's a 1-cost unit, of course, and his ult is just very inconsistent because he very frequently throws his bomb just at nothing on the map as enemy units move around. So he's just not a good unit. You don't want to play him in the late game. Scrap Heart is very nice because that allows you to play Scrap 6 without having to play Ziggs. You play the other 5 units. Ezreal, of course, also not great late game, but Ezreal has Innovator trait, so that allows you to play Innovators, and Innovator has a lot of other good units. So you play Ezreal and Echo for Innovators, and then you play the other scrap units who are all pretty good. I mean, I guess Blitzcrank's not that hot in the late game either, but if you can move into Aurelia and move into Jinx, you know, those are good late game units. And, you know, that offers you the opportunity to be playing scrap 6 while also having some strength. And you see, I'm actually going to sell the Ziggs there because I don't particularly want to play Ziggs later on in the game. I will hold one of them because if I could find like an early Aurelia or an early Jinx, I would give me the opportunity to go up to scrap 6, which I would drop Clockwork to play scrap 6. Scrap 6 is very, very powerful in the early game, but we'll see what happens. I don't plan on a 2-star Ziggs being part of my late game board. All right, anyway, so I've been win streaking now. After going win-loss, win-loss, win throughout stage 2, I've been win streaking in stage 3. So my comp definitely feels a lot stronger, and now I'm just looking to see what else I can put here. Well, guess what's on here? There's an Echo with a belt. I was like, oh, well, that's perfect. I want to make a Morello's on Echo anyway, so this is half of Morello's, and now he'll roll another scrap item, and now I have 2 out of 3 Echoes. So this was really nice for me. I'll just replace the Echo on my bench, on the board with this Echo on my bench. And I also now find a Ziggs in the shop, or excuse me, a Zillion in the shop. So I can potentially look to replace the Camille with Ziggs if I want. I also technically have a 4 Clockwork option as well if I would find an early Oriana, but I can already tell you I'm not going down that direction in this game. If I were to find a Clockwork Heart, I would be looking to play into 4 Clockwork, but since I went with the Scrap Heart instead, I'm looking to play into more Scrap units. So one of the things I like about Innovators right now is I've said this before, they are very, very flexible. They give you a lot of different options to move in different directions. So if I had gotten Clockwork, I'd go in that direction, but since I've gotten Scrap, I'm going to head in the Scrap direction. And hey, look what we rolled in this round. We actually rolled a Morello's anyway on Echo, so he gets that burn effect, which is really nice. This team's running a bunch of bodyguards. They have like Yordle. This is the person who's running Double Trouble with Yordles, and they also have Yordle dodge chance as well. So they got a very good augment for Yordles, but that Morello's burn did an awful lot in the fight. And remember, Ezreal has a Last Whisper, so he can armor shred that Poppy, who otherwise would be very, very difficult to deal with. Alright, again, more hitting, just hit. I hit the 2-star Echo, which is great. And my board is mostly 2-starred. I've 2-starred everything except the Blitzcrank and the Jhin, and I would not expect to hit 2-star Jhin this early in the game. That would be an insane high roll if I had done that. So right now, we just want to look at what some of the other boards are playing. These people I can hit. There is someone who's playing Innovator, but it looks like that person's AFK, so that's great for me. Like, they have orbs unpicked up. They have, like, some of the orbs that have not been picked up. There was an Assassin board that I could hit here, so I decided to shift the Scarab down to the center in the hopes of taunting any Assassins that I might hit. I end up not hitting the Assassin player. I end up hitting the Talon player instead. So, unfortunately, the Talon jumps right on top of Ezreal and gets that bleed effect on Ez. Ezreal is going to kill him, but Talon's going to do damage before that happens. So this is when it's a good thing that I have the Jhin. But unfortunately, it looks like Jhin got taken out by the bouncing blades from Sivir. So I was like, oh, Camille, you got this? And Camille's like, I do not got this. So unfortunately, we're going to lose that round. And that was a pretty needless loss because if I had not been, if I had been able to avoid having Talon jump on the Ezreal, we would have won that round. Here, I'm checking the Socialite Spotlight. It's up on the front row, so probably not what I'm all that interested in. It could be something to play for Aurelia, because Aurelia makes good use of the Socialite Spotlight, and it isn't a good tile for a potential Aurelia, but I don't think that I end up doing much of anything with the Spotlight in this game. If it had been on the back lines, I would have been more interested in trying to chase after it. All right, so we're going to get some more items here. Again, more items we want to make scrap value out of. So we've got, let's see, so we've got a glove that can go on Ez and he'll roll another glove item. We've also found an Aurelia, so that's a big deal. We'll also definitely go ahead and make Morellos, because that's the best way to make use of that. So we'll put this on Ezreal, and then we've still got some other items here. So I would like to get these in play for scrap value somewhere. Now I'm trying to think, is there a way I can get 6 scrap into this? Or excuse me, is there a way I can get 6 scrap into the team composition? And there is, but I kind of have to drop too many traits to do that. So I decided I would hold Aurelia on the bench for right now. I'd have to play Ziggs along with it, and I don't think that that would be worthwhile to do. So instead I toss in an MF for the time being, but I think I'm going to move out of the Misfortune as well. She does give me Sniper trait on Jhin, but Jhin does not have any items right now, so Jin's not that important for the moment. At the moment, Jhin is pretty much just in there for a Clockwork trait and a little extra damage, but he's not a key part of the team yet. Alright, so this is one of the other comps that we have to keep an eye out on. This person is playing Syndicates, and remember I said that Syndicates got a lot stronger in this patch. So they are looking to play through Ashe, and in fact the most popular way to play Syndicate right now is reroll Ashe. Not playing through Ahri the way you might think, but playing through Ashe and trying to reroll for Ashe 3-star. So as I said, that's one of the most popular builds, and this person looks like they already have 6 Ashes. So the good news is they've lost a lot of health. The bad news is they're getting close to 3-star Ashe. So that will be a concern whenever they finally manage to put that together. Anyway, I've hit the 2-star Blitz, so again, most of my board is 2-starred, which is a good sign. And then we're in pretty good position to look to just keep econing up to level 8. And then at level 8, we'll be able to roll and try to get more of our real board together. I still want to try to get more scrap value, so I decide that I'll put this this belt on the Echo so that he'll roll another scrap item. By the way, that other Innovator player is almost dead. Can we get a free win against that person? No. I don't know if I've even hit that person, so other people have been taking advantage of those free wins more than me. Alright, in this fight, we're going to get the hook on Sivir right at the start of the battle. This is someone who was not paying attention to the fact that there was a Blitzcrank amongst their potential opponents. So we're just going to hook the Sivir, and what looks like a pretty tough team comp is going to get a lot easier because we kill all their damage right at the start of the fight. So yep, that's going to be a pretty easy win just due to having Blitzcrank position. And so we're going to do 14 damage to that person who also has a bunch of stuff sitting on their bench. So I think they're trying to figure out what they're playing. Here's a nice shot find. I find another Jin, so I'm getting close to Jin 2-star, and I haven't even had to roll yet. I could potentially look to put some of these items on Aurelia, but, you know, if I just natural my way into 2-star Jin, I'll just put them on Jin instead. These crit-based items, they're pretty good on Aurelia and also good on Jin. Now if I can just find one more sword for Infinity Edge, I'd have Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, and Giant Slayer, which are like perfect Jin items. The only thing missing there is no Quicksilver Sash, because Aurelia would prefer to have a Quicksilver Sash so that she does not get CC'd. So probably better to put those items on Jin. But if I got a Quicksilver Sash, if I got a cloak for Quicksilver Sash, then it would be a little bit better on potentially Aurelia. Although Quicksilver Sash is good for Jin too. You can corner him with no problems. I will say that I've had pretty good success at being able to corner units like Jin and Ezreal if I'm scouting the other teams and making sure that they don't have Blitzcranks. I try to be really careful right now and try to make sure that my units are cornered only if there's no Blitz on the other teams. And Blitzcrank is nowhere near as popular in set 6.5 as he was in set 6. You just don't see him as often. All right, anyway, so it's time for another carousel. I lost that one round at the end of stage 3, but I've been win streaking since then, so I feel very comfortable right now. There is a Jin on the carousel, but he has a spatula, which is not going to do anything for me. The sword would be pretty nice on this carousel as well. I was thinking about going for this sword if it was still there, but I think it gets taken, so I was like, you know what else is on this carousel? There's a Zeri with a rod. So remember how I said Zeri is going to be one of the featured units in this video? So yeah, let's look to play that. That's a legendary unit, and rod is one of her good base items too. So we'll just ditch the Misfortune, and we'll just play Zeri instead. Like, why the heck not? We'll just go for that. So now I have the option to look to level to 8, but I think I decided that I would just stay here and not look to level to 8. I'll just wait. I'm on a win streak. I'm doing just fine in terms of health. Let's go ahead and just hold here because I'm not quite as rich in this game as I've been in some other games. We'll just hold here. Maybe we'll drop a round or two, but we should be okay. Excuse me. And I feel like my board is kind of strong enough for the time being. So we'll put in this area. And I actually disliked where I was positioned for this round. I moved Jin at the last second, but I didn't like where I was positioning that. Zeri moves around a lot in the fight, so her starting position is not as important as it is for a lot of the other comps. Anyway, we'll talk more about Zeri in a minute. She's kind of shredding through this team composition without much trouble. The bad news is it's a ghost round, so we're not going to do any damage. We now have an odd number of players in the lobby because that one person was AFK. As I said, I don't think I got any free wins against that player, but oh well. I was still winning enough rounds regardless. All right, so we've got a couple more options here. We have Electro Charge, which is good in the early game. We have Jeweled Lotus, magic and true damage from your abilities can critically strike, gives global crit chance, and then also the Electro Link that provides more mana generation for any unit that's holding an item. I ended up going with the Jeweled Lotus because I had so many units that had crit stuff on them. If you notice, I've got 2 items that build out a crit chance on Ezreal, plus I've got another glove, so I'm going to get at least one other item that builds out a crit stuff. So I thought with this having so much critical strike chance on my team already that it synergized better with Jeweled Lotus. I also think the Electro uplink thing would have been very good as well. The statistics on the augments are out by now. You can check some of the websites out there for TFT. They kind of track the win rates of different units and different traits and different augments. And all of the cybernetic ones are really good. The cybernetic augments that give you health and AD, the cybernetic augment that gives you health and armor, and the one that we just saw that was health and mana generation. All of them have very, very good win rates. So those are all augments you should be probably trying to look to play. They're all really good ones, and I wouldn't have minded taking that one either. All right, so this round we get pretty lucky. We roll a Scrap Zephyr on the enemy team's Kai'Sa, which is kind of their featured unit. It's the Kai'Sa and the Malzahar. So we just get to take Kai'Sa out of the fight for a couple seconds, but oh, we still lose 11 HP. 11 HP, are you kidding me? Oh, come on. So once again, I win streaked all through stage 3 and lost the last round. I win streaked all through stage 4 and lost the last round. In case it wasn't already clear, the mutant ability in this game is the Dark Harvest, which means that every time a mutant unit dies, they give extra AD and AP to the other mutant units. So yeah, that's the one that's in play there. All right, so anyway, what I'm trying to do right now is trying to find a way to get 6 scrap into my team comp. I don't really want to play the Ziggs, but I also want to find a way to get it into the comp somehow. I think it's time to move out of the Camille. I can run Zillion for another rank of Innovator while also dropping the while also maintaining Clockwork 2. And then I'm going to have to roll here. I get a sword, which is fantastic, and then I get 2 more gloves. So those are yet more items that build out a critical strike chance. All right, anyway, so I'm going to sell the Ezreal. I'm going to move these items over to Jhin because I think I'm about to 2-star the Jhin. So there we go, Infinity Edge. And now I need to look to put Ezreal back in for scrap. And now I'm also trying to get a version of... I want to get 1 more scrap unit in here, so I'm trying to figure out, is it 5 innovators, 4 scrap, or is it 6 scrap plus 4 plus 3 innovators? And for the moment, I think it's better to have 5 innovators, 4 scrap, because if I want to play 6 scrap, I have to play Ziggs, and remember, Ziggs kind of sucks. So remember, we don't want to play Ziggs. I went ahead and made a Thief's Glove, although in retrospect, maybe I should have just put 2 gloves on 2 different champions to take better use of Jeweled Lotus. I don't know. But I made a Thief's Glove. That'll be good on somebody. We can definitely make use of that on one of our units. So we're up against the Yordle team, and I'm trying to cut through the armor on that Poppy. It looks like Jhin is going to come a little bit short. The dodging on Yordles is doing a lot of work here, and we come up a little bit short in this round. So clearly I need to roll more to 2-star some 4-cost units. So there's an Aurelia. Can we hit Jhin? Can we hit Orianna? Let's see. So still trying to put these together. By the way, there's a lot of echoes. Maybe I should have gone for Echo 3-star. I've certainly been seeing a lot of echoes. So yeah, I was like, Zillion? Well, I already have 2-star Zillion. There's Aurelia, so we really should try to get her into the comp somehow. I was like, how do I put this together? I really need like another Jhin here. And then I see Jinx, and I was like, ooh, okay. So Jinx, if we have Jinx here, then we do want to play 6 scrap. So it looks like the play is to drop down to 3 innovators and play 6 scrap because we hit the Jinx and we hit 2-star Aurelia. So that suggests don't play 4 scrap, 5 innovators. Play 6 scrap, 3 innovators. So again, this is in response to what I'm hitting. If I'd been hitting like a bunch of Jaces, then I probably would have looked to play more innovators. This round not going well. You can see I'm still transitioning my comp here, losing some rounds. I need to get the Aurelia in. I want to get the Jhin 2-starred. And I have an extra innovator in right now as well. So we can look to move out of one of our innovators. So a little bit, fiddling a little bit here, trying to put my team comp together and go from there. So definitely want to get Aurelia in. I was like, what do I take out? I've got an extra innovator. What innovator do I take out of the board right now? And I was like, oh, I can take out the Singe. Singe is not going to be that great. Aurelia is not an amazing frontliner, but she does provide some frontline, so we can play that. And then we can look to keep rolling. I hit Orianna 2-star, so that's a possibility as well down the line. And I was like, I can put her in, but then I lose Innovator, and I also lose... what was the other rank of something I lost there? I think it was just the Innovator I ended up losing. So I'm going to sell some of these Singed. I'm not looking to play Singed 3-star. But we have managed to get the big Scrap Shield. So look at the size of these Scrap Shields with Scrap 6. So what Scrap 6 does is it turns any component that's on a scrap unit into a finished item. And you get additional scrap value for each one of those items. I have the cheat sheet here, so I will just look up specifically how much it is. Scrap 4 is each component is 40 shield. Scrap 6 is each component is 60 shield. So yeah, for each component we get 60 shield. That's an awful lot. That's quite a bit. So yeah, in retrospect, what I probably should have done was instead of making the Thief's Glove, maybe I should have made a Jeweled Gauntlet on Zeri because it's one of her best items, and then just put the other Brawler's Glove on onto Aurelia, so she would roll a scrap item and give me more scrap value. All right, anyway, well, it's time to pick another item off the carousel. I do have a Zephyr option here, which would not have been bad, but I was looking to itemize some of these carries. I decided that I would itemize Zeri with a Chalice here, because Zeri makes very good use of ability power, and she will then also be able to give it to Echo and also to Jinx, and I felt pretty good about all of that. So we're not quite there yet with this team comp. We're still trying to get this team a little bit stronger. And in fact, I could get a lot stronger if I go to level 9. So my hope is just try to push to 9, try to 2-star Zeri, try to 2-star Jinx, try to find Jace. And the ideal play here at level 9 would be, at level 9, Jace goes in for Zillion, and then Orianna goes in to maintain Clockwork. And that's kind of the ideal setup that we want for this board here. Anyway, so we're continuing to run through the units I've got right now. I'm back to hitting the Yordle player again. The good news is I've been able to upgrade my board quite a bit since the last time we hit them. And Zeri is actually doing a lot of work with these items. Jink has rolled tank items, which is kind of hilarious. So Jinx is now my tank frontline here. But I've still got Jin alive. We're starting to cut through. Can we get to the back line? Get on that Corki? Well, we're hitting the Vex, who is not the unit I want to hit. But it looks like we've been able to punch through that front line. Thankfully, this person is on, what, looks like they're on 7 Vexes. Thankfully, they have not quite 3-starred all their Yordles yet. And I am desperately hoping to push to level 9 so that I can move into higher tier units. So that's what Scrap needs to do, because the Scrap trait itself falls off as the game goes on. You really need to push to legendary units and make use of them in a Scrap team composition. Scrap as I said, it's not a great late game composition. It tends to get outscaled in the late game because the value of the shields is smaller when there's more damage in the game. So that's kind of how things play out there. Anyway, here I'm going to try to reposition. I thought I might be up against that Draven team comp. I am instead up against this person who is playing Syndicate. This person was losing all throughout the early game, but they've gotten a lot stronger now because they've hit the 3-star Ashe. And we need basically enough damage to punch through that Syndicate front line, and we do not appear to have it right now. I guess Jinx gives us some backline access. Jin with his crits gives us some backline access, but clearly it's not enough. And this is the comp that I was most worried about right now. They are on the big win streak, and 3-star Ashe really, really strong. They actually have gone up to 7 Syndicate, which is really strong right now. 7 Syndicate, all units get the benefit of the Syndicate trait, and it's 60% higher. So really, really, really good, good to have that Syndicate heart and get up to 7 Syndicate. Now here's the good news. I find a Jace. Here's the bad news. I make a terrible mistake and sell my 2-star Ori. I was thinking I'm not going to play Orianna, but what I forgot was when I get to level 9, I can take out the Zillion, put in Jace to maintain Innovator, and then put in Ori. So I took out the Ori, and it was like 5 seconds later, I was like, oh no, I should have held on to Ori. Ori 100% gets played in this team composition. She's the replacement for Zillion, and then Jace goes in. So yeah, that was not quite what I was looking for. I guess it did give me some additional gold, but this was where I was like, wait a minute, I've got an extra Innovator. Wait a minute, I don't need 4 Innovator. So yeah, that's not quite what I was looking for there. Well, in any case, we are going to find a second Zeri, we find a second Jinx, so all of that is good. But now I just need to try to 2-star these units. That is the goal for the moment. Hey, I know who I'm up against. I have perfect knowledge about my next opponent, so Jin is in a great position for this team comp. This person is playing through Senna. The problem for them is Senna needs to be 3-starred to be your carry in the late game, and it looks like they're on 7 Sennas right now. That is not going to be enough, and in fact, we completely dodged the Galio as he comes crashing in. Like, my whole team stepped forward, and we all just dodged the Galio, so that's super sad for them. And they get knocked out before they're able to finish 3-starring Senna. Bad news is that Syndicate team comp is amazingly strong. Good news is that they knocked out the Draven player. So that's pretty good. And hey, we hit 2-star Jinx, so we're getting there. Now, Jinx people are familiar with because she was around from the previous set. Zeri, though, Zeri's the new unit. So I do want to talk about what she does. As mentioned before, her traits are Sniper and Debonair. That's why she's in the comp. She pairs Sniper with Jin. And the way that she functions is she basically charges herself up with electricity. Her mana cost is 60, so not that high. And when she uses her ability, she charges up with electricity. So for the next 6 seconds, she will dash around shooting bullets all over the map. So she actually uses blue buff pretty well because it allows her to start shooting almost immediately. And then it allows her to get her next electrified attacks off more quickly. The one place where she does not use blue buff well is if she's a VIP Zeri. Because if she's VIP, once she goes electrified once, then she's just electrified for the rest of combat, period. Her best items tend to be ones that are attack speed plus AP. So Rage Blade's good on her, Giant Slayer is good on her, Static Shiv is good on her. She also uses Death Cap quite well. Gunblade is not terrible on her. She does not use like Infinity Edge Last Whisper particularly well. It's not terrible, but it's not great on her. And of course, she doesn't use tank items particularly well either. All right, so really good news there. Right now, I do not think that I can beat the Syndicate board. I think the Syndicate board's the strongest in the lobby. I don't think I can beat it right now. But the good news is I actually do think I can beat this Bruiser board. I think I have a much better matchup with this. This is like Renata plus Bruisers. So the good news is I got a ghost round against that person, Cyrus, in the last round. And now I'm scheduled to hit them again. So like there's one comp I really can't beat, and I've dodged them like the last 4 rounds in a row, including the last 2 rounds where like we were just down to 3 people in the lobby, and I was pretty confident that like I said, it's one of these trios where like there's one comp I can't beat and there's another comp I do beat. So I was super happy to see the Bruiser player beat the Syndicate player because, as I said, I didn't think that I could actually beat that person, but they did. So good for me. And it's like now we're going to beat that person and knock them down to 5 HP. So I've been pretty lucky here in dodging the Syndicate player, who I 100% lose to, um, but in allowing me to survive some of these rounds. All right, so we've got another item here. Got a couple different options. I could like get a death cap for Zeri, and I think that that is what I end up doing here. It's either that or actually no, I end up doing something different. I end up taking this rod and just tossing it on Aurelia for scrap value, which I think is a really bad use of the item. If I was going to do that, I should have tried to put a better item on Aurelia. I think this would have been better placed as like a death cap on the Zeri. So anyway, I'm rolling here. I'm trying to hit Zeri 2-star or the Jace 2-star. And now I've got to deal with this board. 7 Syndicate with the 2-star, with the 3-star Ashe, and they also have pretty good items on their Ahri as well. Although for some reason their Ahri has a mutant. Emblem, which is not doing anything. But Deathcap plus Manazane is going to be pretty good on that unit. So we have to try to find a way to deal with this, and it's a nice use of a Zephyr on that team. They hit the Jhin right at the start of the fight. So again, we need to punch through that front line quickly enough to then get in the back line and try to kill the Ashe, and it just looks like we're not able to do that at present. So as I said, I was pretty sure I lose this matchup against this player. So once again, I'm back to hoping that I hit the other player. Now it's like, again, a 50-50 against who I can hit. I could hit either the... as I continue to roll and not hit the Zeri and the Jace. So I'm just praying that I'm going to hit the Bruiser player here because I do not want to hit this Syndicate player. I think that I can beat the Syndicate player, but I think I need Zeri 2-star and Jace 2-star. Jace in melee form does shred armor, so that'll make it a little bit easier to punch through some of those tanks. And Zeri 2-star I think will actually do enough damage to give me a shot. So I repositioned Jhin because Jhin was getting Zephyred by that other player. As it turns out, though, it's a ghost round, and I am up against the comp that I can actually beat. So again, good RNG here in terms of who I'm hitting. I believe it was just straight 50-50 odds that I could hit either of the other comps on that round. And I got the fortunate ghost round against the team I could actually beat. And unfortunately, that my luck of hitting this team I can beat has just run out because they've knocked out the other player in the lobby. So much for that. I'm no longer going to be able to count on hitting this Bruiser board that I can actually win against. I got them 3 of the last 4 rounds, which was super lucky. But now I'm going to have to deal with this person, Matt81. The good news is if I win 1 round, I can probably knock them out of the game. The bad news is if they win 1 round, they probably knock me out of the game. So yeah, it's probably just going to come down to this next round. So I'm crossing my fingers, hoping I can hit 2-star Jace and 2-star Zeri here. That is the hope. So we are level 9. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to find another Ori. So I'm like sheepishly looking to put this Orianna back in again. And hey, we find Ezreal as well. So there's that. So we'll go ahead and look to play that. And oh, there's the Zeri. There's the 2-star Zeri. So sell the Zillion to get a little bit more gold. Put in the Orianna. And we'll toss the Titans on Jace. So it looks like we won't have Jace 2-star, but we do have Zeri 2-star. She has pretty good items. Giant Slayer, Chalice. And at the last second, I'm going to reposition Jhin, because that Zephyr was pointed at Jhin before. It's still pointed at Jhin. So we're also going to get the hook on that Zyra. So we have opened up a path to that Ashe. Can we manage to get over to that Ashe and kill her? We just have to try to cut through the front line. Jinx gets off a nice ultimate, puts down that fire field in the back lines, and oh, Jhin takes care of it. Jhin gets the snipe on that Ashe. He managed to crit on one of his bullets. So we dodge the Zephyr. The 2-star Zeri, the 2-star Jinx, the 2-star Jhin together allows us to finish this one off. And I do think that the scrap shields were still helping quite a lot. We had some humongous scrap shields. So a close fight. That comp was very strong. Some very good RNG dodging that board until I was able to hit the 2-star Zeri. And the 2-star Zeri just barely put me over the top. So, as I said, Zeri and Scrap 6, not a lot of synergy together, but it worked in this game, and it was a fun one, so I wanted to show this on YouTube. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, have a good week, and take care.